We'll wait for 5 minutes for remaining people to join. Hi everybody, this is Himanshu and this is Mayank. We work at Chiron and today we are going to do a live on similarity search in prompt action. So basically, we are screen sharer. Okay. Basically, we are Chiron. We are an AI digital platform. The platform is used for making chatbots. Okay, so I'll show you. So basically, this is the platform. Here you can come and log in. Basically, I'll show you the procedure how to make a bot, and for like details before that, you can go to other videos. I'll be working on an already created bot right now. It's a new bot. Okay, so today we are gonna work on a feedback form, a feedback analysis bot. So what it's gonna do is, let's say I trigger a flow, and depending, and you give me a feedback. Let's say any kind of feedback that this is good or this is bad or any kind of feedback, and then the prompt or the GPT is gonna check if the feedback was positive or negative, and based on the positive or negative feedback will trigger different actions. So I'll show you how the flow might look. Marketing website. Okay. Nudge. So this is an intent, which basically signifies what is the intent of the user. So this is basically what the customer or the user is going to give to the bot. So based on this intent, the flow moves. So how it's gonna work is there will be an intent and then there will be a form, a feedback form, in which we'll take a feedback. Based on the feedback, we'll do some things. We'll do a sentiment analysis. If like if the feedback is positive, we'll do a set of action. If the feedback is negative, we'll do a set of actions. Like I'll directly start actually. Yeah.
So let's get started. Like suppose we give a story name feedback. Now intent is basically what the user signifies. Signifies. So like suppose like the user want to give a feedback. So let's suppose you're creating a bot for FNB. Now you place an order. Now you want the user input, like how the end customer feels about your order placement, your food, and everything else. So like suppose we will trigger this flow through this story. So let's get started. I will give it as feedback. Mm, so I want to, and let's use GPT for generating new training phrases.
So basically, intent. This is the intention of the user or the customer. And let's say if I'm coming here, I want to give a feedback. All right, I want to give a feedback. Then this intention is used by the Rasa and the chatbot to predict what the next action should be.
Mm, let's say, yeah. So now, like suppose after the user triggers this flow, we will ask for his feedback, his or her feedback. So let's create a form for it. So I will just create a form.
Feedback.
Form बनोगे, normal
पहले
training.
feedback देते हैं. Click the
Normal
please
training.
provide form.
Please
So
provide.
we'll give a what is an utterance? Utterance is the message that's gonna come after the intent is triggered. So basically, once the bot knows that this is the flow that it wants to go, so then you say, I want to give a feedback. Then what's the next message? The next message should be, please provide the feedback that you want to give in the below form. So we'll add that first, and then to the flow we'll add a form, so that the user know what has to be done when.
Mm,
So this is a form.
so feedback form. It will capture.
The intent name is the intent that needs to be triggered.
Okay, we will create the new intent later on. Suppose slot. Okay, we have to create a slot also for textful type text.
So basically, what we are going to do is,
Mm,
based on the feedback that we are going to get, we are going to do sentiment analysis. So to do the sentiment analysis, with the it will be done using an LLM. So to provide the feedback data to the LLM, we're going to use a slot. So basically, whatever feedback that the user or you're going to give, that will be stored in the slot, and that slot will be used by the large language model to take further action. For now, we are putting a dummy slot.
okay, so this is how your feedback form gonna look like. Now I will create the actual intents and the slots, which will capture all this detail. So I will just connect this to nodes. Okay, this
Save कर दे इसको फिर. So we'll save it for now. Then we'll go and create a slot in the intent.
slots. Mm, let's give it email contact and new. So I will capture your email ID or the phone number in the contact one, and I will just save it, and I will create a
Feedback
feedback
note.
message. Let's give feedback message. It will capture your opinions, and let's see. And I will create a one more intent which will get triggered after we submit the our feedback form. So I will give it mm, post feedback. Okay, now let's move on to our story.
So now the actual intent and the slots are created. So I'll explain how this is gonna work. So basically, you give an intent. I want to give the feedback. Then it comes utter feedback. Utter feedback is going to give like please provide the feedback. And now the actual feedback form. So the intent name that is the post feedback that will be triggered once the form has been submitted. And the slot key which you are seeing is the slot in which delete.
So
Name.
okay.
Mm. The slot key you are saying is the slot in which the details of the form, each and every field will be saved. So basically, let's say the email field, the email phone number field will be saved in contact, and the which field is this?
Feedback message.
Yeah, the feedback message field will be saved in slot
Okay. Now we have created this.
flow.
Yeah.
So now what's gonna happen? As soon as you submit the form, there will be a different intent that will be triggered.
According to like the user intention, like if he gives a valuable feedback like a positive one, we will trigger different flow, or like sometimes the user can be unhappy with the service, so we will notify the like our businesses, like your this thing, this customer wasn't happy with our services, so you can please look into it. So I will add a prompt action for the semantic segmentation. Okay, now I'll give it as
Intent that
okay, okay. Now I have to add the intent also.
Mm. Because as soon as you submit the form, that particular intent will be called.
Semantic meaning. Semantic. User semantic. User message semantic. Let's name it like this way. Okay.
So the LLM type that you're gonna select is OpenAI for now, and then we are going to work on the like what the system message is going to be.
So this system context gives the persona about the LLM. Now suppose this basically this prompt action, what we will do is like for the semantic purpose only. So it will distinguish between the positive and the negative feedbacks which the customer provides. So I will give the persona like it's an AI assistant. Your task is to distinguish between the positive and the negative
Basically, you're
segments.
trying to tell the LLM what it's supposed to do.
Okay. You are an AI assistant. Let's distinguish this system and craftsman assistant that distinguishes between the segment
That is designed to distinguish
between the
between
sentiments of the user message.
sentiments.
Your task solely is to distinguish solely distinguish between the messages without altering the message content.
So basically, you're going to define what your LLM is supposed to do, any kind of details that you want to give. But this is how it's gonna behave. The basic behavior, the
Now we will add one more context to explain the task properly. Add new context.
we'll add a semantic
Context.
context. So basically, in this context, we'll define each and everything in detail. Like, let's say,
let's suppose our source is startup, and we will set our user question from the slot because we have saved the user message in a slot only.
So basically, from
Feedback.
this part determines where the context is going to come for the LLM to work on. So as of now, it's going to come from the slot.
Okay, now I can give it a slot also. Okay, let's see how it will behave if I give it a slot. Let's see. So I will say like what task is to listing this method and user messages in return only binary.
Control
Oh
Z.
shit.
FN.
Oh. Hmm. Usual.
So basically, you're defining like once the LLM, the large language model, gets the feedback message, how it is supposed to behave. Like what Mayank now is doing is he's saying that if the message is negative or it has some harmful content, then it should be assigned a zero. And if the intention of the user, the feedback is positive, then it's gonna give a value of one. So what we're gonna do after this, the whatever value the LM gives to us, whether it is zero or one. If it is zero, then it's a negative message. Then we'll create a flow that will basically uh, inform the company that the you're getting a feedback that is not positive. And if we get a positive feedback, we'll show a thank you message that thank you, it was nice working, something like that. So basically, you can do any kind of flow depending upon the uh, depending on the result, the semantics which gives.
Messages. Now our this thing is done prompt action. So we will just configure it and let's test it out once. Okay. Okay. One thing I have missed, like we have to add, like we have to save this prompt action result also in a particular slot. So I will configure a slot, dummy slot over here for now, and I will create a new one.
So basically, the result of the answer, the result of the LLM response that we're going to get is going to be saved in a slot or simply a variable, and that slot will be later used to do operations.
Okay. Now I will create a slot.
Save,
Okay,
save, save, save.
sorry, I forgot to save it. Actions on dash. Oh, sorry, I have to create a slot. Semantics. Now I will give it as categorical or number because I have to branch it over
Zero
this
one.
0 1. I will branch out for 0 1, so I will create it a slot. Stick. Yeah, now a slot is created. Just configure it inside the prompt action and see how it behaves.
So we gave a dummy slot. Now we're gonna give the actual slot.
Oh, sorry. Semantics. Yeah. Now we'll branch it according to semantic slot value. So let's see.
So let's say if it's a negative message, value that is going to be saved in the new slot is going to be the.
Semantic slot is not shown here. Okay, just a second.
This is there's some kind of. I will just check.
Hmm. Let's see if I created the slot properly or not.
बाकी भी नहीं आ रहा क्योंकि
नहीं नहीं कैटेगरिकली आएगा ना वहाँ पे वीडियो सेमेंटिक्स type number 0 and 1. Okay, let's make the inputs conversation and now let's see. Okay, now let's go here. Check it. Yeah, now it's here. I forgot to toggle the inference conversation on. Okay, now it's 0. And I will create another slot for the 1.
so basically depending upon the LLM response that whatever the large language model is gonna give you 101 will work on it. So
Okay.
the branching is done on the basis of this.
Okay. Now,
Now let's say if the user gives a negative message, then we need to let's say we'll give a email.
we will notify the
We'll notify the company that
hmm,
something is wrong. People are giving.
negative. They are not happy with the service.
These are just the basic details that we use for any SMTP. Negative feedback.
Value.
दे दो यहीं पे.
Value is directly actual password. Actual password.
नहीं देना क्या?
दे दब तो देखिए चेंज कर देना
क्या है ये?
कस्टमर
We'll let it be none for now.
from email value to value value मैं अपना डाल दे मेरा डाल दे let's send this mail to Himanshu Gupta for now for this live
We'll send it to multiple people as well.
and
So here actually you're gonna put it to the company emails. This is the response of the email that the if the email action failed or past email action. So that's it. Here we have the negative feedback.
0 negative 31
Zero negative. We'll check. Zero is negative. We'll also send a custom text saying that the user is giving negative feedback.
you can like if currently wants to send the custom text type to value if you set it to slot you can send the particular message only like suppose we will send like the message only feedback message.
We'll send the whole message and
Uh-huh.
we'll change the subject to negative feedback.
Or if you set it as none it will send a screenshot of your conversation. Okay. Uh, value, yeah.
We'll send the feedback message and just to mention that there's a
Negative feedback received.
negative feedback.
Hmm.
Okay. So we'll update this. So as soon as the random response gives a zero, that means the feedback was negative. It'll determine the flow and that will go to negative feedback. And if it's a positive feedback, we'll give a simple message to the user itself that thank you for your response. We are happy after positive feedback. we are included some help. You can do any kind of action based on this. Let's say you want to inform the company or if you want to inform anybody. But right now we're going to do this and we're going to attach it at the end of this flow.
Yeah. I think it's
So
good to
basically,
test.
now that we've created the flow, I'll train the bot and I'll explain the whole flow once again.
Oh, yeah, intent.
Okay.
Post slash. So role is not
कौन सा लोगो दोनों को दोनों को
तो वही होगा उसको पार्ट टाइम वो हटा दे फिर
So these are some things that you will get to know when you watch some other YouTube videos that we have on the channel as well. It's actually out of the scope to explain all these things right now.
वही है
Okay. So now
let's
I'll train the bot. The flow is completed, and I'll explain the flow again, how it is going to work. So let's say let's say this bot is deployed to a company website. You come to the bot and you say you want to give a feedback. So basically, as soon as you say you want to give a feedback, the bot will know that this, based on the training examples, the bot will know that this is the flow that you're talking about. So that way it determines the intention of the user. And that way it will get the flow of the user. So this is the flow that needs to be triggered. So as soon as you say I want to give the feedback, it will go to utter feedback. So what's utter feedback? Utterance is basically the thing that you want to display on the bot next. So next is going to be please provide your valuable view. So then we'll give a form for the user to give. In the first form field, it will give us the contact details, and we'll save the con. I'll show you. Yeah. So this is the form. In this form, So in this form, we'll take two fields. The first field is going to be the email or phone number. The second field is the actual feedback message. So the email and phone number will be stored in a slot. Slot is basically a variable in simple terms, and this is going to be a message that will be saved in a different slot. And what happens when the form is submitted? Once the form is submitted, this intent or this will be called this particular intent post feedback. So let's say as soon as this form you submit, this intent will be called. This intent can be anywhere. It can be in this story, in any other story. So this will be called. This is a dummy training example because we know that this is going to be called anyways. So as soon as this is called, we'll give a prompt action. So this prompt action basically it has a system context where you define how the LLM or the large language model should behave, and this is the semantic context in which you determine in deep how what the task should be. So whatever, so how it is this is going to work. So basically, as soon as the feedback is saved in the slot, and you saw the slot was feedback message, so this uh, LLM is going to needs a context of some kind to work on. So the context is going to come from the same slot feedback message. So basically, this is going to work on the feedback message. So as it is mentioned here, if the feedback message is negative, it is going to assign a value 0. If the feedback message is 1, it is going to, sorry, if the feedback message is positive, it is going to assign a value 1. So now we need to store the value 0 1 somewhere so that we can work on it further. So we are going to store it in this semantic slot, which will directly store whatever data is we're going to get from the LLM response, which is going to be u 0 1 based on the feedback. and we're going to move ahead. So basically, based on the feedback, based on the 0 1 value, it will determine the branch of the flow it needs to go. If it is 0, we'll give a negative feedback to the company. Negative feedback to the company. Sorry, we're going to give the message to the company that we have received a negative feedback, and if it is positive feedback, we'll just show the user that thank you for your feedback. We were glad that we have some kind of help. So once the training is done, we can actually test the bot. Depending upon the complexity of the bot, the training takes time.
Hmm. How will it include? I think it's gonna take some time for the training. Still in queue.
The training is in progress. You can see at the status. If you guys have any questions, you can ask actually. You can just go on the chat, you can ask, we'll answer it at the end of the session or whenever we get time.
So meanwhile, the bot is training. I will explain how the similarity search works. So suppose these are our components in the prompt action only. Like so in the semantic context, you have seen like there are multiple type of sources: static, slot, action, or bot content, and history. Now the static one is a normal one, like which we use for the chat GPT. We give the instruction for the particular user query, and we get the response. For the slot one, we decide like this is our rack system, like this is a particular slot which will be defined to provide the user answers. In the action, like suppose I have configured that this action thought, yeah. Suppose you add any action like bicep action or any other action or any we do
Any kind
LLM
of
chat.
action, let's say
Yeah.
you added an email action
Hmm.
and you want an email, sorry, let's say you added an API action.
Hmm.
So it will give some kind of response. That response can be used in the LLM to further,
Like it will
fine tune your response.
it will act as an external source for your LLM. Now, for this bot content is the main one. Like suppose when you can set the slot as a bot content. So what happens? Like suppose you have added your database data in the database over here. Now what happens is like it will refer to this point to answer any queries. Like suppose we have suppose for a website, our current website only, we have different rules and suppose return policy or refund policy or any other policies which we follow. Now any user asks for the query like or the pricing according to different variations we sell. Now the particular user asks like what are the prices for this particular thing. Now we feed all this information over here. Now any user asks any query, the LLM will refer to this our vector database and answer your query record accordingly. This is how similarity search works in our platform. So this is the basic idea. If we go in depth, like you can refer to our other videos also. I think most of us have gone in depth for the explanation. Now body strength, let's test it out.
So now the bot is trained and we can actually test the bot.
Okay. So just trigger the flow directly and give feedback. Now you can see.
See, as soon as you gave the event, I have to give a feedback. It gave an utterance. Please provide a valuable view. And then give the feedback form, which right now Mayank is filling.
Sales. Now let's see if it works. Yeah.
So this one, what happened? He gave a positive feedback, and the where's the flow? Where's the flow? There's the flow. So he gave a positive feedback, and based on the feedback, it went to the prompt action or the LLM. The LLM determined that it's a positive feedback, and basically, based on the positive feedback, it went to this flow and it gave this utter positive response, which is thank you for previous message. This one is getting displayed because in prompt action we should have disabled the dispatch response. So whatever the response is from the prompt action, it's getting displayed.
So
If we trigger it again and give a negative feedback, then see.
reset करना was slot.
Okay.
We forgot to reset the slot, so for timing we will reset the session. I will try it again. Okay.
I want to give feedback.
Let's see. Yeah.
So what happened? It basically I should have given the this. I'll show this flow again actually.
अरे email लिखा था ना email आया.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. So what happened? It went here. This thing gave a zero because it's a negative feedback, and then it went to this action. So in this you can see we have a response that says email action successful. That's the response. This confirms that it went to this flow, and we can go and check the email to see if we have got the email or not. See, we received a email saying the subject is negative feedback, and I did not we got this exact message, exact feedback message that we were supposed to get. So I think this was it for this session. Uh, our colleagues will come with new sessions every alternate Tuesday, and that's it. If you have any questions, we'll stay here for 1 minute. You can ask. Okay, so if you want to try our chatbots or anything, I'll just paste the link in the chat.
Or you have any queries, you can reach out to our Discord channel also. You'll find it over our platform only.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.